Welcome to Bits and Pieces. Today's video is a little different. I have a confession. I went shopping yesterday. I didn't mean to, but I was very early for an appointment, as I'm prone to be, and there was a used bookstore. Even then, I was in another used bookstore the weekend prior as my partner was selling some albums, and I didn't find anything I wanted. I figured this would just be a way to waste some time. But I got in there and there were some treasures. I found cookbooks from the 1920s and 30s. That is a serious weakness of mine. I know y'all have seen me cook from my victory binding of the American Woman's Cookbook, 1946. I do breads and things from that. That's where I got my puff pastry recipe that I use to make danishes. But this was a significant addition to my collection. I got 4 books. I spent $65, including tax. I'm still a little stunned that I bought $65 worth of books. The one that I'm most excited about is a 1937 edition of the Boston Cooking School Cookbook by Fannie Farmer. Later editions of this will end up being called Fannie Farmer Cookbook. The first edition was printed in 1899. This is not that. But I love history. And in one of my history books on cooking and cookbooks, talked about this being a significant publication, the original one, to cookbooks in general. This one has an inscription done for Easter 1938. All 4 of the cookbooks are either from the same woman's name in the book or has some sort of notation showing that it is from the same town that she was in up in Ithaca, New York. The really exciting thing about this is that she wrote in some of these. In one of them, she put a big red X over the coleslaw recipe. Obviously, she didn't like it. But she has notations of changes she made on a few places, just a whole new recipes written out. And I really want to cook from these. But some of the others I got was a Good Housekeeping Institute's Good Meals and How to Prepare Them. It states in here that you cannot buy this book. It is, you have to have a subscription to Good Housekeeping. And this one is from, I saw it, 1928. This is the oldest one. 1921 Lowney's Cookbook Illustrated. And it, keep in mind my wife is Cajun. And I'm going through here and I'm seeing it has an entire section on Creole cooking. And it's got some interesting choices for Creole. It almost seems to categorize any traditionally Southern food as Creole. Let me see. It also has a section on economical receipts. But it has like chicken tamales in here as Creole cooking. Another is the New Delineator recipes, and it is from, I believe this is also a 1920s era 1929, the Butterick Publishing Company. I'm familiar with Butterick as patterns, because those were the ones my grandmother would let me sew from. She felt the Vogue ones were way too complicated, but she'd let me get Butterick and McCall's patterns to practice with. Now, I have some other older cookbooks. I've got one from the 60s. It's a vegetarian one. The New Age Vegetarian Cookbook. From the Rosicrucian Fellowship. And then, of course, you know, my Victory edition of the American Woman's Cookbook that I use a lot. I love this book. I also have some reproductions, either collection of reproduction of recipes or reproductions of cookbooks. One I got on my honeymoon in New York before we left for Germany is the New System of Domestic Cookery. The original edition was in 1806. This is the contemporary edition that they were selling in Fort Niagara. Some of my others are, I have wartime recipes. This is also a reproduction. I have a reproduction of the Settlement Cookbook. I am very sad because I used to have a 1928 edition of the actual Settlement Cookbook, which is like 3 times the size of this. But I lost it in a divorce. I held out to keep my Mater Joffrey vegetarian cookbook, which I also love. That was a gift from my in-laws to me personally, and let my Settlement Cookbook go. I think that's one of the few things I regret losing in the divorce. But I also have Victory Cookbook. It seems to be more based on British rationing and recipes, but I have that one. And Grandma's Wartime Baking. And one of my early favorites, Grandma's Wartime Kitchen. After I bought this, I kept looking for the Wartime Baking one, and it was always so expensive. They eventually it was given to me as a gift, I believe by my former brother-in-law. But yes, I'm looking forward to cooking from these. I do know that I will be cooking it's a very simple kohlrabi recipe that I found in one of my new cookbooks for dinner tomorrow. And a lot of these have much more simple flavorings compared to what I'm used to doing. But I think it was the Boston Cooking School that had the kohlrabi recipe. I'll have to find it again, but I will probably find some other side as well to go with it, because tomorrow is going to be kind of a date night, and I'm cooking steak. So that's what my wife likes to have, and it keeps us from going out for steak, which is 10 times more expensive. And honestly, I do the steak better than some of these places. But yeah, I hope you will check in and see what vintage recipes I'm going to cook going forward. Thank you for sticking around to hear about my obsession and, well, shopping. I've had to promise not to buy any more cookbooks through the end of the year. I don't think I'm going to keep that promise if I find another vintage cookbook. But thank you.